So let's talk about Lewis. Full spoilers ahead for The Punisher, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you probably should get out of here. But if you do, I sort of want to use this opportunity to go back and look at Lewis as a whole as a character. Obviously, this episode really dealt with the culmination of his storyline. I think, I agree with our reviewer, David Griffin, where he thinks that this sort of aside in the middle of this season was one of the weaker parts of it. But I am a little bit concerned about the way the show handled the messaging of the Lewis character. He is certainly someone who has a lot of problems when we meet him coming back from the war at the beginning of the season. In many ways, he's a bit of a foil to Frank Castle, and I think he sees himself as that as well, where he sees himself when he's talking to Karen Page as a vigilante, as a hero, as someone who's trying to do the right thing, but is going about those things in the wrong way. I do have a problem with the way the show is characterizing it, though, because the Punisher itself seems to fall short of, Marvel's The Punisher, I should say, falls short of really taking a stance on what it's trying to say. Is it that the government is treating these veterans and not giving them the right amount of care? What is it trying to say about gun violence? I think a lot of it starts a discussion that we can have, but I think that it weakens Lewis's story, that the series itself isn't a bit more clear about the story that it's trying to tell with him. I do really think that the way this episode was positioned was a little bit problematic. I think the structural choice to jump around in time was sort of for the sake of itself. I don't think that it necessarily strengthened the story to sort of follow each character's individual paths. And I also do think that Frank's decision at the end to encourage Lewis to kill himself didn't really bring the story together, congeal the narrative that they're trying to tell in any meaningful way. So I did have some problems with Lewis. I'm curious to see how the rest of the season goes, if it does end up having any sort of message or deeper conversation about gun violence, about PTSD, about the way that we treat our veterans coming out of these wars and sort of the care we can take for them. I do think The Punisher thus far, as much as it's like a great action show, and I think Jon Bernthal's performance is really, really strong, and a lot of the characters as well, I think the series as a whole falls short of having any meaningful message to share about these issues. That's just my take. I definitely want to know yours, so let us know in the comments below. Make sure to check out our previous 2 episode breakdowns for Marvel's The Punisher. We're so close to the end in this binge watch too. But please make sure to keep up with all of our reviews on IGN.com, and for all things Marvel and Netflix, keep it here on IGN.